Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. This is Madhya Sagir from Department of Zoology, University of Education, Bank Road campus. So students, what we're going to study today is the classification of reptiles. This is our topic of lecture today. Before going to the actual topic, I want you to have the introduction of the topic, that is of reptiles and the classification. Reptiles. So what are the reptiles? These are the actually member of class Reptilia. They are mostly known as the first amniotes. Why first amniotes? Because they were the first animals that have the amniotic development, that their eggs have the amniotic membranes. Those membranes actually protect the egg, and these membranes help them to survive on the terrestrial environment. So if we come to the proper definition of the reptiles, then these are the members of class Reptilia, the group of air-breathing vertebrates that have internal fertilization, amniotic development as we talked earlier, and epidermal scales covering part or all of their body. So air-breathing vertebrates means that they breathe through the lungs. Internal fertilization means that fertilization takes place internally within the body. Either they are oviparous or they are viviparous. Next is epidermal scales. Epidermal, as you know, that it is the outermost layer of the skin. So outermost layer of the skin that have been derived from the embryonic ectoderm. So outermost layer of the skin contains the scales that may be present on the whole body or that cover the part of the body. So this was all about the reptiles. Next comes to the classification. So what is classification? If we generally talk about the classification, we say that we organize our things on the basis of their similarities or on the basis of their differences. If we want to talk about the biological definition of classification, then it must be the arrangement of animals in plants and taxonomic groups according to their observed similarities. Now here comes the classification of reptiles. First, reptiles are the members of kingdom Animalia. Animalia, you know that it contains all the animals. If we talk about the phylum, then they belong to the phylum Chordata. Chordata are those animals that have in their some of their lifespan they must have the notochord. And as I told you earlier in the previous slide that they belongs to the class Reptilia, or reptiles belong to the class Reptilia. Now this class have been divided into 4 main orders further. These are order Testudines, or this is also known as the Chelonia. The second order is order Rhynchocephalia, and third order is order Squamata, and the fourth one is order Crocodilia. So we will discuss all orders one by one in detail. So our first order is order Testudines or order Chelonia. Well, their name suggests the Testudines have been derived from the Latin word testodes, which means turtle. And the same as Chelonia, this is the actually Greek word which means tortoises. Tortoises and turtle all belongs to the same order. They are the same things, same animals, but the difference is that the tortoises mostly live on the land area, and turtles are mostly spend their most of their time of their life in the water. So members of the order Testudines are all the turtles. They have approximately 225 species are present in this order, but how do we characterize the species? This characterization depends on the type of their shell, their bony shell. Actually, this is the shell of the turtle, and this is the upper or dorsal portion of the shell, right? They have the limbs that are joined to internally to the ribs. Internally, here I have used the word articulating internally to the ribs, means they have the joint that helps them to move easily, and their beak is covered by the protein, so they have the keratinized beak rather than teeth. They do have teeth, but that is not when they are very small. In their mature state, they don't have the teeth. Turtles have a very long lifespan, more than 14 years. Even if we talk about the Galapagos Island tortoises, they live excess of the 100 years. So they have a very long lifespan. Is a basic structure of the we are going to talk about the basic structure of the shell of the turtles. So this is the dorsal upper portion of the cell. The dorsal upper portion of the cell is known as the carapace. What does it form? It forms of the fused vertebrae, okay, and expanded ribs, and it has the bones of the dermis of the skin. Again, all the bones of the carapace are covered with the keratin. Keratin, as you know, that it is a protein. Next is the plastron. Previously I talked about the carapace, that is the dorsal portion or upper portion of the, this is what, okay, this is the box turtle. That is carapace is the upper portion, dorsal portion of the shell, and this is the plastron is the ventral or lower portion of the shell. So upper portion is known as the carapace and lower portion of the shell is known as the plastron. This is the plastron. Ventral portion of the shell is called plastron, and it forms from the bones of pectoral girdle and dermal bones. In case of the carapace, we have only the dermal bones make the carapace, or we can say that dermal bones makes the dorsal part of the shell, and pectoral and dermal bones combinedly makes the plastron or the ventral portion of the shell. In some turtles, such as the North American box turtle, this is the North American box, they have the flexible areas or hinges. It has, this is the anterior portion and this is the posterior portion. So mostly the box turtles have the hinges in the anterior as well as in the posterior portion that help them to raise from anteriorly the plastron and from the posteriorly. So the shell has flexible areas, hinges that allow the anterior and posterior edges of the plastron to be raised. Alright, so next is, yes, here what, this is the skeleton of the turtle, basic skeleton of the turtle, okay. Turtles have hinges in their shells. Hinges mean they have the joints. Definitely there must be joints that help the turtles to be withdrawn into the shell. Otherwise, how can they come out of the shell and how can they withdraw their body completely into the shell? So hinges or joints or openings are required. When the hinge allows the shell openings to close when the turtle withdraws into the shell. Okay, what happens when this turtle withdraws? It completely withdraws its body into the shell, then all the hinges closes the opening of the shell. Okay, it closes the, in other words we can say that it closes the shell. Turtle has the 8 cervical vertebrae. Cervical vertebrae means that they have the 8 neck vertebrae that are articulated somewhat S-like configuration. Okay, and what does the 8 vertebrae do? They actually help the head of the turtle to be drawn into and out of the shell easily. So firstly we talk about the shell, we talk about the carapace, that is the dorsal part of the shell, we talk about the ventral part of the shell, that is known as plastron. Now we have talked about the cervical vertebrae. There are 8 cervical vertebrae that are in S configuration. Okay, let's come to the reproduction of the testudines or turtles. As I told you that they have a long lifespan of 14 years, and if we talk about the Galapagos tortoises, they are live more than 100 years. So sexually they become mature at the age of 7 or 8. Means after the age of 7 they become able to reproduce their young ones. All tortoises, all turtles are the oviparous. Fertilization is always internal, right? Fertilization will take place within the body of the female, but what happens, female lays the fertilized eggs. Oviparous means that organisms that produce their young ones by laying eggs. Okay, young ones hatches, like in this picture you can see the young one hatches from the egg. They does not reproduce their young ones directly. Okay, so females use their hind limbs to excavate nest in the soil. What happens when the female is near to lay the egg? It these are the forelimbs, and it uses its hind limbs to dug the nest. And what does it do? It lay about 5 to 100 eggs, and that eggs then will be covered by the soil clutches by the female turtle. Soil clutches means that you can say jaw or hand full of soil, right? If we talk about the development period ranges from 4 weeks to 1 year, and parents never attend the eggs. Once the female turtle has laid the egg, she will never take care of the eggs. Like you have seen many birds, they do take care of their eggs, but in case of testudines, they never take care of their eggs. They just lay egg and they got free of that. And when the young are independent of the, when the young ones are hatches from the egg, they got independent. The young are independent of the parent at hatching, right? Okay, this is the actually last topic of the first order testudines, turtle conservation. Many programs have been enacted in many countries for the turtle conservation, because they have the long lifespan. Their juvenile stage is very long, and they have the very great mortality rates. That's why there is a need to make the laws to conserve the turtles. Slow rates of growth and long juvenile period. Juvenile period means, you know, that long period in which the turtle remains small, does not get mature. So slow growth rates and long juvenile periods make turtles vulnerable to the extinction in face of high mortality rate. This one is the reason of their extinction, and other reason is their hunting. Mostly turtles are being hunted and predated by dogs and other animals, so there is a need for the programs to be enacted for the conservation of the turtle population. Otherwise they are extremely vulnerable to the extinction. But if we talk about the sea turtles, it is somewhat complicated to make the laws, because it is very important to make judiciary laws for areas that have been protected by different governments. Alright, this was all about the class testudines. It means we have talked all about the turtles. Okay, this is the second order, order Rhynchocephalia. This is a very small order because it has only one surviving species, that is the Totara. Totara, you can see in this figure that this is the Totara, and this is a lizard-like animal. Alright. Okay, so if we talk about, as I told, that this is a lizard-like animal, reptile, and is virtually unchanged from the extinct relatives that were present nearly 200 million years ago. It means that from past 200 million years ago, Totara has the same shape, has the same anatomy, right? It does not face evolution, we can say this in other words. Okay, let's talk about the Totara's tooth arrangement. Tooth attachment and structure distinguish the Totara from other reptiles. This is what the distinguishing structure. What is the distinguishing structure in this? Their tooth arrangement. Now what happened? Two rows of teeth. They have actually, this is the lower jaw and this is the upper jaw. In lower jaw you can see that there is only one row of teeth. But what happened? This is the upper jaw. This is one and this is two. This has the two rows of teeth. So two rows of teeth on the upper jaw and single row of teeth in the lower jaw produce a shearing bite that can decapitate a bird, a small bird. So it feed on the birds, and it can produce sharp bite on the bird. Now what happened? They actually live in burrows. Totaras live in burrows, and at the very early morning, at dusk, the Totaras came out of their burrows, and they feed on insects. They prey upon insects, and occasionally sometimes they prey upon the small vertebrates, and then at dawn in the evening they got back to their burrows. Alright, if we talk about their distribution, that where the Totaras are present, so actually formerly they were widely distributed in New Zealand, but where they fell prey to human and domestic animals, so now they are present in the remote offshore islands and is protected by the New Zealand law. They are now not present in the New Zealand, but where they are present on the islands. That islands are very far away from the seashore. Alright, island, you know that it is a piece of the land that is surrounded by the water. So they are present on the New Zealand islands, those islands that are not near the shore. Okay. Again, like turtles, the Totaras are also oviparous, that they reproduce their young ones by laying eggs. It shares underground burrows with ground nesting seabirds. Okay, they form the burrows, they dig the burrows underground in the soil, and that the same burrows that have been dug by the seabirds. So they share their, you can say that they share their homes with the nesting seabirds. Okay, our third order is order Schemata. First we talk about the order Cystodines, then we talk about the order Rhynchocephalia, and third one is order Schemata. Order Schemata contains lizards, snakes, and worm lizards. Basically, these three kinds of animals are divided or classified into further suborders. Let's talk one by one about the lizards, snakes, and worm lizards. Okay, lizards that belong to suborder Sauria. Sauria means again lizards. In contrast to snakes, lizards have the two pairs of legs. They have the two pairs of legs, and if we talk about their jaws are anterior is the front portion. Okay, their jaws are united anteriorly. Lizards' length vary. They being very small, few centimeters, and they have been very large to even 3 meters. If we talk about the lizards, that how do they live or how do they move, then mostly the lizards actually move on the surface of the substrate. Substrate mean anything, any wall, any tree. Okay, and sometimes they retreat under the rocks or logs. Rocks, you know, small kind of mountains, and logs are the tree trunks, like things like this. And retreat means that retreat is something that someone withdraws itself from the enemy. When someone thinks that it is in danger, it withdraws its body, or it hides its body. So mostly the lizards move on the surface of the substrate, but when they feel danger, they retreat themselves under the rocks or the logs when necessary. Otherwise, some lizards actually form the burrows, and some are the tree dwellers. Means that they live on the tree. Dwellers mean they make their homes there. Okay, they used to live on the trees, tree trunks, like this. Let's come to the reproduction of the lizards. As we talk about the turtles that are completely oviparous, we talked about the Totora that are also the oviparous. Now lizards are either oviparous, ovoviviparous, or viviparous. Actually, depending on the species. Again, depending on the species, some lizards are oviparous. Okay, oviparous means, as I told you earlier, that they can reproduce their young ones by laying eggs out of the body, and that eggs hatch, a young one hatches from that eggs. In case of ovoviviparous, these are the organisms that produces the eggs, but eggs got hatch or break inside the body of the parent. Okay, these are the animals that produce the young ones by means of eggs which are hatched within the body of the parents. And viviparous, they produce their new ones, they produce their live new ones. Okay, they produce their live offsprings. They do not lay eggs, but instead they reproduce by producing the live babies. They usually deposit eggs under the rocks or the debris or in the burrows. Where do they deposit egg? They need to hide their egg. They deposit egg either under the rocks or the debris or in the burrows. Okay, well, this is the lizard which will, I think, we all of are very familiar, jacox. Okay, it is commonly found on the walls of the human dwellings. You have seen in your homes on the walls this kind of lizard. This is known as the jacox, and dwellings, again, human being homes. Okay, where do they live? They are nocturnal. These lizards are mostly nocturnal. During daytime, they are quite, live in the hidden areas. They are much more active at night. So nocturnal means that the organisms that are much more active at night, and unlike most lizards are capable of clicking vocalizations. What do they do? I think this is actually jacox produce clicking kind of sound. Okay, vocalization means, yes, their vocal sound. So they are nocturnal, they are active at night, and they are capable of clicking vocalization. They have a large eyes with pupils that contract to the narrow slit during the day and dilate widely at the night. because they are nocturnal, so definitely they have been adapted to the night vision. They have the adhesive disc. Adhesive means that for the attachment. They have the adhesive disc. They have the disc for the attachment on their digits that aid them in clinging to the walls and the trees. Again, it has, as I talked in my previous slide, that lizards have the two pairs of leg. This is the one pair and this is the second pair of the leg. When some lizards are very venomous, like snakes, means they are very poisonous. This is one of the example of the venomous lizard. This is the figure of the Gila monster. Okay, it is very poisonous lizard, but it doesn't present in Pakistan or in Asia. The only venomous lizards are the Gila monster and Mexican beaded lizards. These two lizards are the most poisonous lizards in the world, and they have the very heavy body, but they are native to the southwestern and North American areas. Okay, not they are not native to the Asia. Venom is, where do the venom release? Actually, they have the teeth in their jaws, and the teeth have the grooves. Grooves means they have the depth. In the deep portion, they release a venom. Venom means poison. They release a poison in the grooves on the surface of the teeth and introduce this prey into the prey as the lizard chews. When the lizard chew the prey, the venom from the surface of the teeth enters into the prey. Lizard bites are seldom fatal to the humans. Fatal means that can cause the death. Mostly lizards are not venomous to the humans, but they are venomous to other animals on which do they feed. Okay, the next organism or animal of our current order is the snakes, Squamata. Snakes also belong to the lizards, snakes and worm lizards. Snakes also belongs to the order Squamata. There are about serpents means snakes, and there are about 23 species of the snakes that are present in this suborder. Vast majority of snakes are not dangerous to the humans, but about 300 species are venomous. Again, 300 species are very poisonous to even humans. Worldwide, 30,000 to 40,000 people die from snake bites each year. Every year, in 1 year, almost 30,000 to 40,000 people die because of the poison of the snakes. Most of these deaths are in the Southeast Asia. In United States, fewer than 100 people die each year from the snake bites. Mostly snake bites that's caused in the Southeast Asia. Okay, snakes are elongated and they lack limbs. Now what happened? They have the elongated body, they don't have limbs, but they do have vestigial appendages. Vestigial means that were remnant part. Okay, at some time of their life history, previously in ancient times, they must have the appendages, but now because of the disuse of appendages, they become not active and they become the remnant part of the appendages. So only because of the disuse of the appendages, now they have only the remnant portion that shows that sometimes in their life history they do have the appendages. So they have the vestigial appendages. And the skeleton, if you talk about the skeleton, now you have seen that the snake can be easily move and it can rotate in any direction. So this is what the flexibility. How does it get the flexibility? It get flexibility because of the vertebrae that are present in its body. Approximately 200 vertebrae and the pairs of ribs are present in the skeleton of the snake that makes its body very much flexible, and these vertebrae are have the joints between them. Snakes possess skull adaptations that facilitate swallowing large prey. Now apparently you can see that snakes have a very small mouth, but they can prey upon very large animal. So this is what their skull has the adaptations, and their jaws adaptation. These adaptations include their upper jaw that are movable on the skull, and the upper and lower jaws that are loosely joined so that each half of the jaw can move independently. Means their both upper and lower jaw are very loosely joined. They can open too much wider their mouth because of this loose attachment of the jaws. Okay, this is the third member of order Squamata, that are the worm lizards. They belong to the suborder Amphisbaenia, and they are found approximately consist of 135 species. They are specialized burrowers and they live in soils of Africa, South America, Caribbean and the Mid East area. This is what their distribution. They got their name of the suborder Amphisbaenia because it means that they can move easily forward and backward. In forward direction and in backward direction they can easily move. This what give the name of their suborder. These are oviparous, means they reproduce by hatching, by laying eggs that hatch outside of the body, and they feed on the other small worms and small insects. This is the fourth order of class Reptilia. First order was order Testudines, second was Rhynchocephalia, third order was related to Squamata, order Squamata, and this is the fourth order Crocodilia. Crocodilia contains 21 species and it includes crocodiles, alligators and all, and they have the specialized skull adaptations. They have been derived with archosaurs, and they have been distinguished by from other reptiles because of their skull adaptations. One skull adaptation is their eyes. Their eyes orbit, if we see their skull, they don't have the circular eye orbits, they have the triangular eye orbits. Okay, they have the triangular orbits. And secondly, they are laterally compressed teeth. Here you can see the teeth. These are the laterally, means sidewise. Okay, these are the on sides they are compressed teeth. These are the they are compressed on sides, they are compressed, so they are the laterally compressed teeth. These are the two main characteristics that distinguish them from the other reptiles. If we talk about the living crocodiles, the Delias, then there are four main crocodilians that are living. Others are extinct. These are the alligators. These are the crocodiles. Actually, alligator, they all have the difference in their skull shape. If we talk about the alligator and crocodiles, then alligator have the U-shaped snout and crocodiles have the V-shaped snout. Living crocodilians include alligators, crocodiles, gavials and caimans. These are the gavials and these are the caimans. Crocodilians have not changed much over their 170 million year history. They are as ancient as 170 million year history. They have not been changed. They are the same since 170 million years. The snout is elongated and often used to capture the food by sideways sweep of the head. Alright, this is the snout. The elongated mouth nose part is known as the snout. So they have the elongated snout and they capture the food from the sideways of the mouth. Their tongue is not producible. They cannot produce out their tongue. The snout is elongated and often used to capture food by a sideways sweep of the head. The nostrils are at the tips of the snout. Nostrils are present here at the tip of the snout. Now what do the nostrils do? Actually they help them to breathe while they are submerged in the water. Okay, they do breathe with their nostrils when the animals are mostly submerged. Well, air passageways of the head lead to rear of the mouth. Rear means back of the mouth. This is the air passageways and throat, and a flap of tissue near the back of the tongue forms a watertight seal that allows breathing without inhaling water into the mouth. They have a flap of tissue that forms a watertight seal. Water cannot enter into the area when during their breathing. They breathe without inhaling water. A plate of bone, there is a plate of bone that is known as a secondary palate. You can see here, this is okay, this is the nasal passage and this is the mouth passage. This is the nasal passage. This is a nasal passage means this is the air passage, this is the mouth passage, and this is the secondary palate. Secondary palate is actually the plate of bone. It is actually the bone and that separates the nasal and the mouth. Okay, this bone actually separates the airways and the mouth. so that it can breathe easily. The muscular elongated laterally compressed tail is used for swimming. Now they have the tail, you have seen earlier in earlier slide. Tail is again laterally and sideways compressed tail. They have the compressed tail. So tail help them both in swimming and in defensive and offensive ways. Okay, when they become angry or offensive, they use their tail. When they become defensive or when they are attacking the prey, they use their tail. Teeth are used only for seizing prey. Okay, I have told earlier that their tongue is not reducible. They don't use their teeth for to chew the prey. Okay, though they have a very prominent laterally compressed teeth, but the teeth are meant for just to seize the prey, to capture the prey. Okay, not to chew the prey. They actually swallow the prey as it is. Food is swallowed whole, but if a prey item is too large, the crocodilians tear it apart by holding onto a limb and rotating their bodies widely until the prey is dismembered. Now what they do? On their limbs, they hold the prey if this is too large, and it rotates the prey's body too much harshly that it becomes dismembered, and they swallowed them into their body. The stomach is gizzard-like, means the stomach is meant for grinding. Alright, stomach is gizzard-like means they use the stomach for grinding purpose. They don't use teeth for chewing. They swallow the organism, their prey, and then into the stomach they use the gizzard. Into the stomach they use to grind their prey. And crocodilians swallow rocks and other objects as abrasive for breaking apart ingested food. Now they also ingest the rock pieces. Why do they ingest? Because they use that rock pieces to break apart or to engrave their food, ingested food. Crocodilians are oviparous and display parental care of hatchlings. Now what is the difference between the turtles and the oviparous? And turtles and the crocodilians, like birds, they do care of their eggs. Nesting behavior and parental care may be traced back to the common ancestor of both groups. Now their parental care shows that they have the common ancestor. Who have both birds and crocodilians must have the common ancestor, because like birds, they do care of their eggs and they do provide the parental care to their young ones. Now this is the recapitulation of our whole lecture today. Let's recapitulate that what we have studied today. We have studied the classification of reptiles. Reptiles belongs to class Reptilia. They have the dry skin with epidermal scales, respiration via lungs. They use metanephric kidneys. They use kidneys. Okay, and internal fertilization, amniotic eggs. And now the class Reptilia have been divided into 4 orders. Order Testudines, which have teeth absent in adults and replaced by a horny beak. As I told you that in turtles that they have the teeth in their juvenile stages, but mature turtles don't have teeth. They have the keratinized beak. Short, broad body, shell consisting of dorsal carapace and ventral plastron, and these are all members are known as the turtles. Second order Inkocephalia. Inkocephalia very primitive, only one living species that is present in the offshore islands, remote islands of the New Zealand, and that species is known as the Totoras. Order Squamata. Order Squamata most successful and diverse group of living reptiles. They contain snakes, they contain lizards, they contain worm lizards as their member. And the fourth one is the order Crocodilia. Crocodilia, they have the elongated muscular laterally compressed body and tongue not reducible. I told you that they cannot take their tongue out of the mouth. They includes living species of the crocodilians include crocodiles, alligators, caimans and gavials. Okay, thank you so much for hearing me. Have a nice day. Allah Hafiz.